Thank you. Come on, let's see it. Come on, let's see him. Let's see your palm. Come on.
We will rock you.
What you got, huh?
We will rock you.
I think they wanted some more. Oh, it's Super Bowl Sunday, just in case you didn't know that. For the benefit of those who did not know, this is Super Bowl Sunday. We're excited. And as Ann mentioned, that we're not only pausing to watch two teams play in the 50th annual Super Bowl celebration, but we're celebrating today anything and everything that is super in your own life. If you have anything that's super in your life, you should give a shout of it or a cheer today. Come on. Something super? And that's what we're called to do. The Super Bowl is a call. It's a reminder for us to celebrate. Not just celebrating the Panthers or the Broncos or any other teams. We are celebrating life. We're celebrating life because we're all, as Florence Scovel Shinn says, we're all playing this game called life. We're in it, and you can't get out of it. I don't care if you check out of this body, you're going to be in it in another form, in another dimension. It's life. Life is of God. It's of spirit, and life is all there is. And so we can choose. It's a choice. We can choose to go through this life as, monotonous, mundane, routine, ritualistic kind of way, or we can choose to go through celebrating everything that comes our way. For we know that our celebration activates a universal principle, the universal law of attraction. And I'm going to give you another meaning to this law. It says, whatever you celebrate, whatever you praise and cheer in your life, you will draw more of that into your life, world, and affairs. So if you got something super, let's celebrate. Olivia, just a little, come on. Oh, come on, Olivia. Come on, fellas. Come on. Celebrate health. Celebrate love. Celebrate unity. The greatest celebration that's taking place anywhere in the universe is happening right here and right now. The best party, listen, the best party that's going on in this universe is happening right now, right where you are, here at 3608 Diamond Head Circle. And you can choose, friends. We choose to be participants in this or consciously playing like we're bystanders. The game of life calls us all to get off the sidelines. The only reason we should be on the sidelines of life is if we're cheering. We're doing some kind of cheer. But if you're sitting down on the sidelines of life, watching somebody else play this game, by God, it's time to get up, get out, get over, and get on the field. And play. This is it. We only go around one time in this experience, in this body like this. And this is no practice run, all right? We go around one time in this dense energy, in this suit. In this suit, we go around one time. Now, we might come again, and there are those of our Eastern brothers and sisters who believe that we have many lives. And I believe in that. If you believe in biblical literature, you'll see that there are references to reincarnation. I believe in all of that. But that might be another experience. But while we are here in this form, there's enough headaches, enough heartaches. We're going to all have those things. And I promise you, we probably got the cup, the mug, the t-shirt, the hat, everything to prove that we know something about headaches, heartaches, pains, upsets, disappointment, depressions, and all of the woes of life. But we're called to celebrate what is good, what is super, what is great. The master teacher said it in this way. He says, if I be lifted up from the earth, from this dense energy, from the material, physical world, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men, women, boys, and girls unto me. The esoteric meaning to that passage, to that scripture, is whatever we lift up and praise and cheer and celebration will draw all corresponding manifestations unto us. You don't have to labor for it. You don't have to sweat for it. You don't have to, well, you will have to work for it. There's some work involved. Please don't be fooled. But you don't have to cheat, deny, lie, deceive any of that. Get in the flow of it. I'm so already, anyway. This is Super Bowl Sunday, and we're celebrating life, and I'm celebrating being alive today. I'm celebrating being awake and being aware, being conscious. Because there were moments probably in this experience when we were unconscious of who we are in God and unconscious of who God is in us. But friends, when we come into that awareness, truly aware of this presence, this awesome presence and power that's moving in us, through us at all times, as you take that breath. Come on, take it with me. Oh, doesn't it feel good? Let it go. Come on. Somebody need to do it again. You're still carrying weight on your shoulder. Breathe it in and let it go. And knowing that that breath is the breath of life. It is the breath of God, the breath of God that's moving in us, as us. It's come to help us live a life of greatness. And that's what I want to talk about now for the next 5 to 6, 7 minutes. The keys to living a life of greatness. And as we consider the Super Bowl, with the 50th Super Bowl celebration, there are those who will ultimately determine which team is the greater, or which team is the greatest. Usually, it's typically those who make it to this stage in the game. They are considered the greatest teams. And in society, there are a number of measurements or measuring tools or ways that society help us measure greatness. Well, in athletics, the number of trophies or championships or rings, the number of things that we carry, medals, gold, bronze, suggests that we are beyond the average, beyond the normal, beyond the usual. And that's, as we're looking at greatness, we're talking about beyond the usual, beyond normal. On Wall Street, you ask the question, what's greatness? They will probably say those with financial clout, or the big portfolio. That's considered greatness. In academia, greatness is ultimately simplified to the number of A's, or how well you do on your test or in your classes, or the number of degrees you have, or the number of letters behind your name. There are so many ways that society has helped us to measure greatness, yet in this particular message, we're called to look at how we measure greatness spiritually. You know, there is a spiritual measuring tool for greatness. If I was to ask the question this morning, and I will ask it, how many of you consider yourself to be living a good life? It's good. And you don't necessarily have to raise your hand. I don't want anyone to feel, oh, Lord. I don't want anyone to feel whatever. You're living the good life. Life is good. Yeah, there might be some ups and downs, some roller coaster moments, some headaches, heartaches, knee aches, ankle aches, finger aches, whatever. But it's good. Life is good. If I was to ask the same question, how many of you consider yourself to be living a great life? Great life. I mean, it's not only good, but it's great. Who was it? The Kellogg commercial, great. Is it Tony the Tiger? Oh, it's that. I just dated myself. That's way. That life is great. And there are some things that we can do to activate this greatness in our lives. For greatness is a covenant. And when I speak of covenant, I'm speaking of, it's a contract, it's an agreement, it's a pact, it's almost like a promise that's been made that we have with the universe. When I use God, universe and God, I use them interchangeably. That we have with God, the divine. That it's a covenant, that we can activate the covenant of greatness in our lives. And if your life is great, what can make it even greater? What could take your life to the next level? Oh, can you even imagine that? All right, life is great. All of those, raise your hand if your life is great. Be honest now, you're in church. Honesty. Life is great, raise your hand. What will take your life to the next level? More love. Okay, all right. Then how do we step into that. And are there any tangible tools that we can use to move us to that level of greatness, to expressing that level of greatness in our lives? And yes, there are some tools that we have that we can use. Now, I had some stats for those of you who were attending Super Bowl gatherings today, and you may not be as familiar with the game as some of those who will be attending the parties with you. I do have some stats that will help you sound really, really smart at that gathering, but you have to go online or get the CD for the 9:30 or the 8 o'clock service, because I really got to move with this thing. I really got to move with it. So as we look at greatness, the keys to living a life of greatness, I'm reminded of the conversation that the disciples were having with the master teacher when they were talking about the same idea. They want it to be great, and there's that within every man and every woman. We want our life, and I believe that I'm pretty accurate about this, that we want our life we want our life to really matter and make a difference in this world. How many of you feel that way? You want your life not just showing up, being a parent or child or sibling. You want your life to make a difference in this world. That the world becomes better because of you, because you're here. And there's that within every one of us. We desire for our life to matter, to not just do the same thing, the norm, go through the daily routine, the monotonous routines, to live, to do something and experience something really great. These disciples were having the same conversation. They asked the master teacher, because they were envisioned that he would come into a different kingdom. And he says, well, they were talking amongst themselves, well, who will sit beside greatness? Who will be great? Who's going to be great? And James and John, they're having this conversation. And in these teachings, we know that James represents wisdom and John represents love. And this conversation is happening within us. And they go to the master teacher and says, Master teacher, when you come into your kingdom, Rabbi, when you come into your kingdom, can I sit on your left side or can I sit on your right? And one says, well, can I be on your right side? You see, everybody likes to be on the side of a winner. Everybody likes to be where greatness is manifesting. And the master teacher looks at them and says, listen, that is not mine to give. You have to earn that. Goodness of life, the good life, yeah, we got to work, you got to do some work to have life to be good, don't you? Be honest. You got to do some things. Doesn't happen by inertia. But for life to be great, to step into the greatness, as you think of some of these athletes and these teams, how did they get to the point of the Super Bowl? They've worked. They've disciplined the body and the mind to get there. And so he says, I can't give you that privilege, but you can earn it. We earn it in consciousness first. Then he simplified this idea of greatness. He says, the greatest of these, those who want to be great amongst you, must learn to be of service to you. The greatest of all is a servant of all. So he ultimately defines greatness by our ability to serve. As I read that passage, I was reminded of, many of you all might recall, a couple of months before he was assassinated, Dr. King preached his very last sermon at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a sermon entitled The Drum Major Instinct. And in that sermon, he talked about this idea of greatness and how we can all live a life of greatness. And it doesn't matter your education, your pedigree, any of those things. He says we can all live a life of greatness. And he identified it as this drum major instinct. Now, how many of you were drum majors in school? Okay, high school? Drum majors did what? What do? They lead the way. I wasn't a drum. But we are all drum majors in our life. I promise you, you are a drum major. And he says, within each and every individual, there is this instinct, the drum major instinct. It's the instinct that wants to be wants to know that our life matters, that we're making a difference in the world. In fact, there's that instinct that wants to shine. We want to be the light in the world. We want our light to shine. And he says that instinct is good as long as we keep it positive. But the moment that the instinct becomes dysfunctional, as Eckhart Tolle would call it, it becomes the pain body. But if we work with the instinct, it serves a purpose because that's what the divine wants. The divine wants us. God wants us to live a life of greatness. And so the master teacher says, well, in order to do this, you got to serve. And Dr. King, he sort of simplified it. He says, you don't have to know, be superior in mathematics or science. You don't have to have BA or BS or degree or MD or MDiv or PhD or DDD or DMin. We know those abbreviations, but there are some. He says you don't have to have any of that to be great. He says to be great, all we have to do is serve. He identified it to have a heart for service. It says just need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love to serve. That in that ability to serve are calls beyond ourselves. If you think of some of the great individuals of our time, name some of the great names, individuals of all time. Who? Mother Teresa. What made her great? Her ability to serve. In fact, it was suggested that when Mother Teresa was being presented the Nobel Peace Prize, it says there she was going up to entering the hall, wherever she was going to receive this prize, and she saw this man who was in need of aid. He needed help. She went to him and took him back to her little village to provide him with care. She never made it in there to receive the prize because she was so full of service. And she got to a point that at the drop of a dime, she could make one call and the world, governmental officials, would answer and listen. You think of other great images of greatness. Gandhi, service. Dr. King, of service. And any of the other greats that we could name, I just bet at some level they tapped into that hidden mystery, that hidden manna, and that is of service, of giving of oneself to something so much larger, something so much greater, bigger than ourselves. In her poem, Beverly Thompson tried to sum this thing up. She calls it compassionate service. And some of you know what that is. Because many of us here, we are great at serving. Compassionate service is referred to love-inspired assistance willingly given to meet the physical, spiritual, or emotional needs of others. Compassionate service requires sensitivity that perceives human distress beyond spoken words. It says that when compassionate service is clothed in the true spirit of charity, which the Book of Mormon defines as the pure love of Christ, we become Christ-like. We become God-like. And in her poem, and I'll close with this, Betty Thompson tells us, she says, you want your life to be great? You want to live a life of greatness? Then put on compassionate service. She says, a comforting word, a friendly deed will bring you blessings untold. When you but give with a loving heart, you will always, say always, please, always receive tenfold. When you help someone in need along life's rocky way, the peace that's deep within your heart, you'll find is there to stay. You'll find that peace eternal is a smile, a touch of cheer, a simple prayer of fun hello, just knowing that a friend is near. Friends, the life of service, a life of greatness, and this Super Bowl Sunday calls us to step into our greatness. Step into your greatness through compassionate service, being obedient to the instructions, the guidance of Spirit within, submitting to that authority, divine authority within, and celebrating life today. Are you in the game?
Yes.
Are you willing to play the game?
Yes.
Are we willing to be great today?
Yes.
To live in greatness,
yes.
to love in greatness,
yes.
to serve in greatness. I promise you, the mark of greatness is upon you right now. God bless you.